Hello, welcome to Maker Studio. I'm Cheryl. I create over on the Home of My Making Facebook page. I'm on this page this morning with a fun project. So I had gone to Hobby Lobby and I found this canister and it had a wooden lid and I want to transform it. So as you guys hop on, let me know you're here. Let me know where you're watching from and let me know how the weather is doing in your neck of the woods. So the first thing I'm going to do is I take the lid off. This is a wooden lid. You could even do this if it had a metal lid on it. You could also transform an old jar the same way and use this as the cap and paint it the same way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a Maker's Studio, the Amy Howard at Home Bauhaus buff. It's their white color. I like to transfer it into a little container and work out of the container just because I'm a messy painter. And this way I can throw out the little containers when I'm done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this Bauhaus buff. It's a chalk-based paint and I'm going to go right over this wooden lid. Now this is a one-step paint. Basically what that means is there's no priming or sanding before you put the paint on. Doesn't necessarily mean only one coat though. I don't want it on the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a little piece of a paper towel because I don't want it to get on the side surface. So before that dries, I'm just going to wipe that off and then I'm going to dry it. I'm going to use a heat gun, but normally it only takes about 20 minutes for this to dry, so you can proceed with your second coat. I'm going to hit it with a heat gun, not necessary for the drying process, but since I'm on a live, I'm just going to get it dry so I can put a second coat. You can see that it's a little streaky, so on this particular surface I'm going to apply a second coat of the one-step paint. Again, this particular color is called Bauhaus Buff. If you're new to me and my page, I use this color all the time as my go-to white. Also, just for an FYI, all the links to everything that I am using today is up in the description section of this tutorial. So I think 2 coats is definitely gonna work on this lid for full coverage. And I don't want to get the sides of it, and that's only because it's the little detail that I want to show is that little wood popping off on the side. I'm going to close my container up because it is a water-based paint. You don't want to leave them open. And I am going to hit this particular top again with the heat gun just to get it dry. That's all I'm doing is just getting it dry so I can go on to the next part of the project. It does dry pretty quick because it is a water-based paint, by the way. So here's what I have. I already have one that I did a second coat on, and I'm going to put that to the side. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take our Buffalo Check stencil. Now if you're new to a Maker's Studio line of stencils, they are a tri-mesh adhesive stencil. They come in that little sleeve. You take it out of the sleeve, you take it off of this little backing, save your backing because that's what you're going to put the stencil back on after it is dry. I actually think I'm going to do both of these at the same time. Let me just make sure that one is completely dry. So it is an adhesive stencil. As you can see, got a tacky back on the back of that. I'm going to do 2 at one time. So I'm going to put these both over the, maybe I'll do it like that to capture both of them. You know what? I'm not going to be able to do both at the same time because it's not big enough. So I will do one at a time and then I'll transfer it to the other one. So press it down, the adhesion of the stencil will stick to your surface. And the next thing I'm going to do is we have this very, very faint blue color in the one-step paint, and it's called Paige Blue. I don't know if you could really see it on camera, but if you look at it next to the Bauhaus Buff, which is this one in the white, it's a very, very, very faint blue. I have gone ahead and put it into a container so I can work out of the container. And now I'm going to take a foam dome brush. We have these in the Maker Studio store. Again, all of the products are linked at the top in the description page. So I put it into the paint, and then I'm going to offload it a little bit. I don't want that much paint, but I could see that it's on the bottom of the dome. I'm going to hit it again, offload it, and now I'm just going to pounce it on top of this stencil. Now I don't want full coverage, so I'm trying intentionally not to get it all over the whole entire stencil. I want it to look like it's been worn off. Now I don't know if you could see that on camera, but it is a little bit of a faded blue on there. It's very, very faint, and that's exactly the look that I'm going for. I am going to attach the stencil to this other lid, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Just put a little bit on the brush and pounce it down. Again, I don't want full coverage. I want it to look like it's kind of worn off, so I am missing spots intentionally. I also intentionally used a color that wasn't high contrast to the white. I'm going to lift that off, and now with this particular stencil, I am going to put it in a water bath I have right next to me. And the reason why I do that is because what you would do at home right now, if you were using these stencils, you would pick them up and go to a sink as soon as you have removed it from your surface, and take your hand, run it under water, take your hand, get all that product out of the stencil. In this case, it was the one-step paint, and then you would get it all out and then lay it sticky side up on the counter. The reason why we do that is we don't want the product to stay in the mesh part, which is where we get all our detail in these stencils. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but it's a very faint contrast to the white. And that is definitely done with a purpose. I also didn't want every part of the stencil to be covered, because I want it to look like it's almost rubbed off. And that's the look I'm going for. As it dries, it does get a little darker. I'm going to put it up to the camera to see if you can see the contrast. Very, very faint. It's a really pretty blue, and it's called the Paige Blue and the Bauhaus Buff. So let me show you this now that I have it dried. You could see it a little bit better, right? So you could see that buffalo check pattern on top of the Bauhaus Buff white paint that I use. I'm going to move that out of the way. Now, here's what I'm going to use. So don't forget to tag 3 friends and share this tutorial, and you will be in the giveaway for this blue bird transfer. I love, love, love the transfers. So each one of these designs on this page is its individual transfer. And let's open it up and get some of them cut out so I could use them on my project. If you're new to the transfers, we've had them for a while. We had a very limited amount, and we introduced a bunch of them a couple of months ago. So what you do is you pull it out of its sleeve, and each one of these designs is an individual design. So I'm going to look over it and see exactly what I want to use in this particular project. And I'm going to cut some of them out. What I like to do is cut them out, then place them where I think I want them to go, and then I will start the rubbing process. So I'm just going to cut out a few of them that I think I'll use in this project. And you will have a bunch of these left over because there's a lot of them on here. Should have counted them before I got on, but there's a lot of graphics on here. So I'm just going to put these to the side, still looking to see what I want to use on here. I even love this little French word, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it out, but I'm not going to use the whole entire one on the lid, because as you can see, it's probably bigger than the lid, but what I'll do is I'll use a little bit on each lid, and I think that would look good. So let's take that one out. There's some stamps on here, some butterflies, some dragonflies, some graphics, birds. What else do we have on here? A lot of goodness is going on here, that's for sure. Just got to be mindful that the surface that you're using, like these two lids, are not that big. So I definitely don't want to use the bigger transfers. But one thing you can do is you don't have to use the whole transfer. And I'll show you what I mean. Like, I'm going to cut this dragonfly out and probably not use the whole one on one lid. I think I'm going to get some of these stamps over here too. So let me go in there and cut them out. You can cut them all out ahead of time. I usually just like to cut them out when I use them and keep the whole thing together. But like I said, each one of these is its own individual transfer. So let me see if I have enough. So I'm going to use them on both of these lids. So again, if you just hopped on, I took these glass jars that had these wooden lids and I painted the top in the Bauhaus Buff one-step paint in the Amy Howard at Home line. And then I took the Paige blue, which is a very, very faint blue, and I used the Buffalo Check stencil, and I didn't cover the whole thing. I didn't use the whole stencil. I wanted it to look like it's almost was worn off. Then I took the Bluebird transfer, and again, if you just hopped on, don't forget to tag 3 friends and share this tutorial so that you could be in the giveaway for this particular transfer. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just cut this out like this, because what I want to do is I want to put this transfer on here, and then I'm just going to put part of it on here. Okay, I don't have to use the whole thing. So I want to, and I'm going to do the same thing for this dragonfly. I only want some of it to be on the project. Because we have a small surface, I want to get in as much as I can. And then I'm just going to put the wings, let's see, maybe I'll move you over there. I'm going to put the wings on here, the other part of the wing. So I'm going to get to use everything in here. Let's see, let's put that one right there. And then I put a whole butterfly over here. And you can layer these on top of each other, just so you know. Just so you know. I think I'll take this. I'm going to see if that works, and then if I need to add any more, I will go ahead and do so. So I'm going to push one of them to the side. I have them laid out where I think I want them to go, but we could change our mind at any time. So I'm going to take these off. I'm going to put the word on there first. So what you're going to do is you're going to remove this from its backing, and all the graphic is going to be on the back of this clear plastic. So you're going to put that where you want it to go, and you're going to press it down. Then you're going to take a little popsicle stick and about a 45-degree angle. What you want to do is just press over this whole entire plastic. And what that's going to do, it's going to release the graphic onto your surface. So once you think that you have completed by pressing it down, you're going to start to lift it up. And what you're going to do is you're going to lift it up if you see any of the graphic left on that plastic, all you have to do is go ahead and press it down and then rub it again. So as you're picking that plastic up, if you see any graphic on there, just again, put it down and continue rubbing and get it transferred onto the surface. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pick it up. If I see any color on there, I'll know. So what you're going to end up with is with a clear piece of plastic, and your transfer has transferred onto your surface. So it's really, really fun. I'm going to go ahead and stick another one kind of on top of it. Again, you could apply the transfer on top of a transfer. And then go ahead and pick it up when you think that you have applied it to your surface. Again, remove the little piece, lift it up, and if you see it that your little piece of plastic's all clear, you know you could keep pulling. And if you see anything left on there, just go ahead, drop it back down, and then take your little popsicle stick and keep rubbing. So remember, I cut that little dragonfly in half. I just want part of the wings to show over here. So even though this is a smaller surface, I'm going to use half of the dragonfly over there and then half of it over here. And it's just the wings. I don't even have the whole body on here. So you can apply them any way you would like. Again, going to lift up my plastic. If I see that it's not attached, or it is attached, I'll put it back down. So again, this should come up clear. I got a couple of other ones to do. I'm just going to put this little stamp on here. And I love the colors of these particular transfers. It's all blues. So these jars are going to look fabulous in my pantry. And it's got that little bit of buffalo check underneath this that I accomplished by using the buffalo check stencil and the Paige blue one-step paint. Again, just if you think you're picking it up and it's not released, put it back down. Be sure to get the edges, because that's where I always seem to have a little bit left on. So look how pretty that is. Can you see the little buffalo check in the back on top of the one-step Bauhaus buff color? And then I'm just going to put one more on here. I think I'm going to just put the butterfly on a little bit of an angle and press it. So again, I took that little piece of the transfer that was the script, and I also used half on this jar lid and half on the other one, as well as the little dragonfly. I didn't use the whole thing. Again, if you see any stuck on the bottom of your little plastic. So what do you think? Isn't that beautiful? So that is going to be on the top of this jar. I'm going to go finish my other one. I have them placed where I think I want them to go. Again, remember I kind of cut out that piece of transfer that had the words on it. So I'm going to put this on here. And I'm going to like the fact that the whole thing isn't covered and it looks like part of it again has worn off because I didn't use the whole thing on here. I actually cut it in a strange way, but I think it's going to look good. And I used part of it onto this one. So remember, I'm not using that whole sheet, so you have a lot of projects that you can use with these particular transfers. I'm loving, loving, loving them. I love layering them on top of stencils, on top of the one-step paint. See again if I have anything left on my plastic as I burnish it down some more. You can kind of see it release on my end a little bit more than you could see on camera. I could see it remove a lot better than probably what you see. Again, if I see anything left on this plastic, I know to just put it down before I totally remove it and burnish it some more. Again, just try to get the edges because that's where I usually miss the transfer. A little bit. So even though that was kind of weird that I cut that design out, like see how I got some of the letters here and some of the letters here and all the other parts on there. I think it's still going to look good, and I did that with intent. I'm going to put half of the dragonfly over here too, like he's half flown off and the other half of him is over here. Because I wanted to use them and it was a bigger or smaller surface, I didn't want him to take up too much of the lid, but I still wanted to use them, so I just cut them in half and used half of them, or actually I used about 2/3 on this one and 1/3 on the other one. And here again I am going over the previous transfer that I put down, so you can transfer over a transfer once you have it on your surface. So what do you guys think? Aren't these fun? If you have ever followed me on the Home Am I Making page, you know that I'm a bin, a basket, or a jar person. So these are going to make great storage. Even in my craft room, I could use these because I do have, as you see, a lot of storage and a lot of baskets, because that's just like how I like to keep organized. And this particular set of canisters is going to go in my pantry. Who says you can't have a pretty pantry? But think about this. You can actually take a jar, like a big pickle jar, and you could paint the lid white with the one-step paint because it will go over metal. And then you could use these transfers on top and use it as a storage jar too. So that's another idea, to upcycle something with these transfers. I'm really, really loving the transfers. And I like the little added part where it has the buffalo check underneath. I'm gonna add one more down here. And just burnish it down with your little popsicle stick, holding it at about a 45-degree angle. I did have the bigger popsicle stick just because it covers more surface area, but I did get those at the Dollar Tree, just so you know, just so you know. See if I can get that up. See if I burnish that all down. Again, I'm just keep in mind that there's nothing stuck on this piece of plastic. That means I know I got a whole entire stencil or transfer, excuse me, on there. What do you think? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? I think I'm going to put something up top. Maybe I'll put this one up top. I think I'm going to add one more to get some color at the top. And then I think I did it. So what do you guys think? Isn't this a fun process? So if you just hopped on, don't forget to tag tag 3 friends and share this tutorial, and you will be in the giveaway for the Bluebird transfer. But again, all of the products that I used today are up in the description of this video. You could check out all the products up there, and you too can create a storage jar. This would make a great candy jar, make a great something for your pantry. But we have a bunch of different ones that you could do the same premise. So can you see a little bit of that buffalo check slightly in the background? That was what I was going for. And that's why I didn't do a big contrast in color. So look at these jars. Aren't they fabulous? So I did 2 of them. Again, you could just upcycle a regular jar. If you have metal lids, the one step will go over that. So what do you think, guys? Aren't these beautiful? So again, don't forget to tag 3 friends and share this tutorial. Also, come and join me over on the Home of My Making page, where I create a lot of projects with the Maker Studio brand of stencils. So thank you, guys. I hope this inspired you. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. It's such a great premise to, even layer the paint, the stencils, and the transfers on top of each other. So don't forget, all the products are up in the description of this tutorial. So I hope I inspired you today, guys. Thanks, and have a great day.